Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Wednesday, hump day in the Riv, and we are less than 2 weeks away from the election.
13 days to be precise.
I know that early voting and everything else is taking place in a lot of states, and
And according to Ryan Lyons, he's had 450 people vote in the 3 days that the early voting has been in process, compared to 450 votes the entire early voting process in the last election. So people are getting out early. So maybe they're listening to us. Maybe they're actually getting out to vote. But I saw a post today on social media from a reputable Republican who said, I don't trust early voting and I don't trust the mail-in ballot system because I firmly believe that it makes it too easy to corrupt the entire system. And this was a Massachusetts Republican who's in office.
well, I mean, look, obviously, if the Democrats want it, it's a method that they can influence because they're notorious for this stuff. And actually, I'm glad you mentioned it. I think I mentioned it on a previous show. There are 500,000 voters registered in Michigan, more than people who are voting age. So how can you have that? How is this possible? How can you have 500,000 votes from voters who are not old enough to vote? And they check those records, and that's been fairly well documented. And we're finding other states, thousands and thousands of illegals and ineligible voters are on the voter rolls. And what are the Democrats doing with the DOJ and everybody else? They're suing these states, trying to prevent them from taking these people off the rolls. They said, oh, you can't do that within 30 days of an election. You should be able to do that within 30 seconds of an election. If you're not eligible to vote, you should not be able to vote. It's that simple. I mean, these people, they're so blatant about their disregard for anything and just getting elected. It's, of course. And do I trust mail-in ballots anywhere? No. As far as I'm concerned, we should have gone back. This COVID's long gone. We should have gone back to an election day, close everything, make it a national holiday, close everything up. And the only mail-in ballots go to people who have, justifiable cause to get a mail-in ballot. They can't get to the polls. They're sick. They're elderly, whatever. But it just shouldn't be. Send everybody a ballot. I'm still getting those texts from Michigan. They're asking me if I've already cast. Yeah, we've noticed you have not casted your mail-in ballot for one of these Democratic clowns that's running in Michigan for something. You're right. I have not cast my Michigan ballot for this clown or anybody else because I don't have a Michigan ballot. And if there's a Michigan ballot out there in my name, it's fraudulent. So do I trust the system? Absolutely not.
It's funny you should mention that. It's funny you should mention that because I've got a whole bunch of text messages, okay, from a 773 area code. Kamala just finished on Fox News. Need a huge day. If everyone gives $20, we'll beat Trump 5 times the match. On Sunday, I got a message. 600% match ready. What Mark Cuban said, no one expected this. You must read it. 600% match. What Mark Cuban said, no one expected this. 600% match ready. what Taylor Swift just announced. Nobody was ready. You must read this. That was yesterday. Okay? They're getting their contributions matched. I don't know how legal that is, but
Well, yeah, I don't either. And this is the key. The key is
now here's the thing. It's signed Dem turnout stop to end. I said I want to see these texts for a while.
well, I can guarantee you on the 6th of November they'll stop. But this is the last one I got. It is yesterday at 2:24 p.m. Hey, Robert, this is Nick with the Michigan House Dems. I've seen tons of mail ballots come back, yet I haven't seen yours in. Will you join your neighbors in voting for Matt Schlinkler? No, I'm not going to join my neighbors in Michigan, okay? Because I didn't get a ballot. You're checking for my ballot, it's never coming. It probably will come on the 11th hour, but if somebody submits it, it will not be me. I mean, there is blatant. Michigan's a huge swing state. We know that now. Michigan is in play. And you look at this stuff and you say, what in the hell is going on? They've got 500,000 people registered to vote that aren't old enough to vote. Their voter registration exceeds the number of eligible voters in the state by 500,000. And that state was not decided by a lot of votes in the last election. It was fairly close. And this is nuts. You're going to trust do you trust this? I don't trust it. I don't trust mail-in ballots. Frankly, I wouldn't trust mail-in ballots to anybody, including Fall River, unless there was a representative from both parties and all the candidates to monitor every single step of that process. When they get a ballot in, those things should be kept in a lockbox, and when they're counted, there should be observers. Do I trust anybody? No, I do not trust them. I don't trust this election. They are going to try to buy it, steal it, influence you. Who's telling you? Mark Cuban. Who gives a shit about some billionaire who doesn't care how high inflation gets?
True.
You know, who cares? Mark Cuban's he's going to match because they want to buy the election. Taylor Swift, Usher, all these multi-millionaires who don't give a shit, don't really like you anyway. You're just one of the clowns who pays them money. Well, no, that is a reason to go vote, because the more of us that come out live, Alf, I don't agree with that. We've got to vote, and what we've got to do is, it's kind of a very difficult situation. We have to elect people who are going to fix this, because if the Democrats get in again, they're going to make it worse.
They'll think what they're doing is right.
Because they're going to, number one, if they get in again, they're going to try to either stack the Supreme Court. They're going to try to eliminate any type of voting oversight. No IDs required. You need an ID to get on an airplane. You need an ID to buy a pack of cigarettes. You need an ID fundamentally for everything you do. You go in a doctor's office, you got to show them an ID periodically when you check in. But one of the most important functions that we have, our right to vote, we don't care. We don't need anything. We're suppressing votes by not identifying the fact that these people are eligible to vote. That is absolutely absurd.
And you know the sad part about it is that Rhode Island requires voter ID. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a license or a state ID, You can go to the Board of Registrars and you can get a photo ID from the Board of Registrars for nothing, zero, and they will give you an ID. So I don't see why Massachusetts can't do it. Why? Because we're libtards. That's why.
Pretty sad when Rhode Island does something better than us, right? But
exactly.
They do. Just like,
I mean, just look at the state their federal delegation gets them more money for bridges and roads and combined sewer overflow CSO projects. I mean, Newport's not, I don't think they're even paying for it. And they got federal money for it. How come Fall River doesn't? Why? Because our elected officials are too damn lazy to do it.
They're too busy giving our money to the rich developers.
That's right. That's right.
That's why they're too busy. They're going to worry about how bad they can screw us on the tax rates and everything else. They're upset over it already. And, and everything we do in this state is strictly for show. I mean, I was looking at the ballot questions, and we're going to go over a few in the next 2 weeks. And the first question, authorize the state auditors to audit the legislature. That sounds like a great idea. We know our legislature needs auditing.
Oh, damn right they do.
But this is the con. You see who's doing the audit? The state auditor.
Right.
So you're going to get a political auditor to audit the other auditors, the other state officials. You know that's not going to happen, and if it does, it's not going to be accurate.
Well, the thing is that the state auditor has been pushing for the right to audit the state legislature. And the state legislature shot her down, had it declared unconstitutional or something, and then they put it before the voters. And if the voters pass it, the state legislature is not going to be happy because this state auditor, maybe one of the future won't, but this state auditor is going to pick it apart.
Well, let's hope so, and I hope it is. But I'm never confident when they, because then it'll become partisan as usual. But let's look at what was you just said, that they meaning our elected officials supposedly, who are there, by the way, according to the Constitution, to be our agents and substitutes and answerable to us, don't want to be answerable to us. We remember what happened many years ago in the Halloween massacre when their pay raises used to have to be on the ballot.
That's right.
They eliminated it. We don't want to do that anymore. Remember when we wanted unconstitutional term limits? Electing judges. Oh, that's not constitutional. Yes, it is. If the people want it, that's what our Constitution says. We are the government.
That's right.
They're saying that to audit them, to hold them fiscally responsible for the expenditure of our tax dollars is unconstitutional. You realize how illogical and insane that they even have the audacity to say that. I mean, that's incredible. Auditing them is unconstitutional. It is absolutely constitutional. The Constitution says you're answerable to us. We are the government. We want to know how you're spending the money. You are our fiduciaries. But you're telling me that we don't have the right to do that because what are you? You're not my substitute or agent. You're my king, my duke, my duchess. We're merely serfs. We're just here to pay you money so you can piss it in a hole.
And a big hole, that is.
A never-ending hole. But I mean, this is nuts. This shows how corrupt government is. This is why people gotta vote, Alphonse. We gotta take over. We gotta get these people out of power because You can't get anything done. They won't let you limit their terms. I mean, go all the way to Washington. Our friend from the Cape, the guy that ran on term limits, Markey. Remember when he ran, CJ?
Yep, I do.
And what did he
40
run?
years ago.
What did he run?
It was all about term limits.
It was all about term limits when he ran. We got to get these people out of Washington. How long has he been here now?
40 years.
40 years. I guess that's the new term limit, 70. 70 years. If you stay in office more than 70 years, you got to go. That's the law that they'll pass.
Unless you're dead.
But if you can still wear a diaper and get into the House or the Senate, you can still get there.
Strong 30.
We'll give you a special dispensation. I mean, these people are just, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I'm going to vote yes on one. I'll be very clear. I mean, if I had my way, we'd have an independent company auditing them, and they'd give them a colonoscopy with a microscope.
I agree.
Because I'm going to tell you, what else we need is the auditor to print all the money they make. Yeah. How much money they make. Do you remember when Billy Bolger wanted another $149,000 over the top for his pension, when his pension got elevated from, he was making, I don't know, 100 and something when he was the president of the Senate. He gets the becomes the UMass document, the head of U.S. They gave him over a $200,000 pay raise. He was making over $300,000. He was the highest paid retiree in the state, and he wanted another $150,000. These people, their greed knows no bounds.
True.
No, it knows no bounds. How much money they got to steal from you, and you wonder why they say, you got to have a tax increase every year. No, you don't. You have to pay these things. No, we don't. As a matter of fact, there's talk about if we didn't give all this foreign aid and all this other stuff, and if we opened up our oil and produced it, everybody forgets. At one time, we had no income tax in the United States. Trump's already said that if they did all this stuff, they couldn't do it overnight, but they could virtually eliminate the income tax if they started actually utilizing our natural resources and not raping the taxpayers for these politicians to get rich, send money to all their friends. I mean, what are we up to now with Ukraine? How much is Europe putting in? We're putting in more than the entire continent.
As a matter of fact, NATO's upset that they were held accountable.
Yeah, very upset. When Trump was in, they made him pay for a change. These people love to come to America, beg for money, and then these politicians say, okay, yeah, well, put my son on one of your boards, Burisma. Let him make millions of dollars, and I'll give you millions of dollars. It's not my money anyway. It's only the clowns that keep paying their taxes. Give the illegals everything they want. Let the veterans sleep in the street. We don't care. But this is it. This is the government we have. This is why we have to vote. We got to try. We've got to fight the fight, and we've got to get other people engaged. Rather than not voting, call 4 other people, tell them, give them the facts that about what's going on, get them pissed off enough to show up at the polls. Get them to show up at the polls. Oh, another thing I was talking about, I guess Collins' attempt to extend citizens' input on a school committee went down, of course. When it got down, they don't want you to be able to talk.
That's right. Especially this particular dictator.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because, what do they do with their spare time? What do they do with their spare time? Let me see if I might be able to pull that thing up.
I have serious problems with the fact that this administration, this dictator, this fascist does not want to allow the people to speak. I call your memories to the times that fascists and dictators took over countries, like Mussolini, like Salazar, like Hitler. What was the first thing they did? They took away the books, they took away the guns, they took away your right to speak. And if they said something that they didn't agree with, they shot you. What?
But you know what they do? This is what they do. I have to pull this up. Let me see if you can see this. You probably can't see it. It's too bright now today. I got it too bright. I got to put something on my head to it shining. But I'll read you the old headline in case you can't. I know you can't see it. While migrant families get $120,000 in housing benefits, disabled Massachusetts veterans mostly get $250 a year. And then they had the pictures of our 4 illustrious members of the House of Representatives: Carol Fiola, Paul Schmid, Alan Sylvia, and Pat Haddad, who voted against giving housing preferences to disabled vets. See,
remember, Pat Haddad refuses to debate.
Huh?
Pat Haddad refuses to debate.
Of course, he's going to get in. These people, this is the problem. You can't get term limits. They've got too much money, too much power. They've done too many people too many favors. It's virtually impossible to get them out. I was never in favor of term limits for years, but now in some areas of this country, you can't get them out. It's impossible. But it takes years. 1995 was the last time we had a purge of the city council. We need another one. We need another one in the next election, 2025. That's 10, that's 30 years, I think. So you can figure it's time to purge the council, time to purge the government. And it takes, but the problem is the people who sit on their butts, the 44,000 people who don't vote and then complain, they only will show up when we've reached total destruction phase. We're at critical mass. They'll only come out after they've completely destroyed the city, the country, and everything else. Yeah, and they got them all over. And like I said, we have people that can't pay their bills, but
have they given them ballots yet?
Huh?
Have they given them ballots yet?
Well, they will. Like I said, like I said, and they think everybody's really stupid. That's what disturbs me. They think like we're really super dumb. It's like you can't figure out that they want these people to vote when they actually fight initiatives to take people who aren't eligible to vote off the voter rolls. I mean, talk about people they think people can actually believe they have a rational reason to fight this. They're going to use a legal technicality to stop them from taking them off the rolls so they can vote. Pretty damn evident. Like I said, there shouldn't be, there's the thing, it stipulates 30 days and, Youngkin in Virginia wants to take them off the roll. Oh, no, you can't do that. It's too close to the election. Well, sorry, you should be able to get arrested at the polls if you walk in and try to vote illegally. There's always a police officer there. You should be able to lock them up right there, handcuff them, take them out, and take them to jail. Well, it is. But right now they're hiding it because you're right, Nelson. We've been at critical mass for a while here. We're out of money, and every Coogan knows it. They all know it. But what they're doing is they're playing Chinese checkers, moving money around and robbing from Peter to pay Paul, and looking for other ways they can generate revenue, raising our fees and increases. And they're like the little Dutch boy sticking his finger in the dike. But now he's got all 10 fingers and all 10 toes sticking in the holes. Now, after he sticks his nose in one, he's screwed. We're gonna get to the point, and that's the problem. These politicians will cover this up on this until this city crashes and goes into receivership. And then you think you're suffering now? Fall River did go into receivership once. I forgot the year. It was a long, long time ago. But Fall River did go to receivership once. We had a few communities in Massachusetts go into receivership. When a receiver comes down, they don't come down with a scalpel. They come down with a chainsaw. And they start cutting everything. Contracts go out the window. Everything goes out the window. And people are going to be, it'll take what little is left in this city out of the city. It'll gut the city. And they don't care. Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to do exactly count as money. They're going to do exactly what Taylor Swift does, count as money. They're going to do exactly what Paul Coogan's going to do, move out of Fall River and count as money.
That's it. That's it.
That's another term. He will be a millionaire on our dime. We're going to pay him nearly $1 million.
Okay, here's the information. Fall River, Massachusetts went into state receivership in 1931 after declaring bankruptcy and remained in receivership for a decade. During this time, many of the city's mills were occupied by smaller companies, primarily garment manufacturers from New York City. Investors were attracted to Fall River by the inexpensive factory space and the eager workforce. Fall River is known for its 19th century textile mills and the Lizzie Borden case. There you go. There's the information.
And the people who were working in the textile mills do any good? No, I have the untold story of labor where they've testified in the 1850s. Yeah, well, they're coming out, but let's see if we can get people out to vote, Nelson. That's the whole key to this whole thing. I know.
Too little, too late.
My mother started working in a textile mill in 1924. Shelburne shirt at 14 cents an hour. So this is why they came to Fall River. Dirt, poor wages. And it stayed that way. That's why.
For many years.
And it wasn't new, because the untold story of labor, the section I always read about the mule spinner, that was in the 1850s. Testified before the Senate. Yeah, no. That's exactly. They're hiding it. They're moving it around. And you notice they use the old Democratic strategy. We're not going to talk about anything. We just hate the people that try to tell the truth to you. And they're not going to talk about, like the Democrats won't talk about, they deny the economy is a problem when everybody knows it is, because everybody feels it. Coogan never talks about the economic condition of the people of Fall River. He talks about how great the developers are doing. Oh, yeah. I stopped at a bakery this morning in the Flint. I always frequent local businesses when I can. And They're already changing the facade on that building, and it's a building that it's a bakery that does very well, but that's the problem. They're going to put facades on buildings that don't really need a facade because they're doing okay, and the other buildings that are empty, what are they going to do? Put lipstick on a pig?
Apartments.
Yeah, make apartments and put lipstick on a pig. If they stay commercial space, what good are they if there's nobody in them? Pleasant Street's a massive empty buildings. There's no attempt to fix the economy of Fall River by Paul Coogan. The only attempt they're doing is to make their rich friends richer, and they're succeeding. I mean, what are you going to do? You know, you couldn't make this up. Yeah, well, we should have a lot of people running for city council in the next election. I think we need a lot of people to run.
I would like to see at least 30 people run for office.
Yeah, I think, you know, we established CAG a long time ago when we did this prior to doing that recall, and the Citizens Alliance for Accountability of Government. We're going to have to resurrect its activity. Maybe we should try to recruit people are running for council and basically provide them a place where they can interact and network and get encouraged to go get some support. This is the problem with people. They decide to run for council and they put their papers in a few months before the election and they never go out and network. You know,
right.
if you're thinking about running for council, you got to get out there a year in advance and begin to network. Go meet people, talk to people, go to neighborhood meetings and begin to get your platform known, because these other people have got that base that votes for them because they put in a street light, they got their cousin a job. But people are really upset now. I think it's prime to have another 1995. Yeah. Well, I said, you know, why can't we don't have the money. We never will have the money because you'd have to take it to the Supreme Court of Massachusetts because they'll fight it tooth and nail. But I can tell you categorically that Proposition 2.5 clearly states if the state imposes something that will burden us, citizens of Fall River, that they're required to fund it. They can't give us mandates in certain areas. Now, if that's the case, that's the state government. Why can the city mandate us to pay somebody else's taxes? And that's what they do when they give a tip. We're paying their tax. They're not exempting them from taxes. They are deferring their taxes while we pay them. I don't know how they can do that legally, but you know they're going to try, just like they keep saying, well, it's unconstitutional to audit. You think the feds will let a bank say that? When the feds come in to audit a bank, you think that the president of the bank can say, hey, that's unconstitutional? Why is it unconstitutional? Oh, I got a right to privacy. No, you don't. Not when you're a fiduciary, pal. You have a fiduciary, a legal responsibility. Okay, I'm looking forward to it. You have a legal responsibility to be accountable to your client. And if you're a fiduciary in a private sector, your duty and liability is to your client. In the public sector, your duty is to your clients, the people, the taxpayers. Yeah. Well, listen, if this country stopped giving money to the UN, to every country in Europe, subsidizing wars, giving money to the Taliban, to our enemies, giving money to Iran, we would need no taxes. There was a time. I've got the list of taxes in Charlie Reese's final column right over there. There's over 100 taxes that have been created since they began taxing. When the politicians got the brilliant idea to not make sure they had money to pay the bills for the country, that they could just keep printing money and getting it from us and taxing us, that was, the die was cast. The Rubicon had been crossed. And this is what happens. Now they have absolute power. The audacity of these people. Veterans voting against veterans, giving illegals money while people can't afford their rents. I mean, this is frankly un-American. You know, the United States is supposed to take care of the people in the United States. The preamble to the Constitution that says that we have the right to domestic tranquility, you know, and many other things, a common defense, the general welfare. Is it in our general welfare to subsidize illegals while we let our people overdose and sleep in the streets and veterans sleep in the streets? I don't know. If you think that's right, I think there's something wrong with you. You forgot what this nation was created for. You've forgotten it. And we have to get people, you know, we can't wait till they destroy the nation. In less than 2 weeks, we've got a chance to change the direction. Let's see what happens. And I don't know. CJ. It's a situation where we see polls, we see everything, but then it gets back to how much are they going to cheat? And I think I'm telling you, that's a real serious concern. I want to see how many more texts I get between now and November 5th, because I don't know. They really like me in Michigan. I wish they'd send me money instead of text.
Well, mine's from Chicago, and they just keep asking for money.
Yeah. Well, they ask me for money too. They're sending me. They're telling me to vote, telling me who to vote for, and asking me for donations.
Right.
Why don't they? I'll tell them, send me some. I mean, it's crazy. I got a whole list of these things. I turned them over to people, but you know as well as I do.
They don't care. They don't care.
It's impossible unless you've got to change the people running the government.
That's right. You know, what's the old saying? Cheaters never prosper. Well, in politics, I beg to differ.
That's right. You know, if you want to be, what's the criteria to be a politician? Be disingenuous, dishonest, and
greedy. And greedy.
And greedy. Yeah, you never get enough.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. But I support question one, just so we get back to that real quick.
Oh, I do. I do too.
I support question one because it was initiated by the state auditor after the House and the Senate struck it down. So my question is, what does the House and the Senate have to hide?
Oh, a lot.
What do they have to hide? Because there's got to be something they're trying to hide. There's got to be.
Well, you know, but CJ, they've hid everything since they took their pay raises away from us.
That's right.
Nobody wants to know what they get now for stipends and everything else, because remember, I still got an article over there about Roderick being number 3 in the state, or 2 in the state, in side money. So these people don't want you to know. They say, oh, I only make like $150 $20,000, which is a lot of money for people in Fall River, since I guess they forget that our average per capita income is 30 grand. So, I mean, so if you look at that, it's 4 times more than the per capita income. But they're not telling you about the stipend for driving to Boston, because it's over, whatever, 25 miles. They get the stipend for that. They get a stipend for this. They get a stipend for breathing. They get a stipend for this. They get, and by the time you get done, that 120 grand salary is up to about 270. That's what they don't want you to know. That's what they don't want you to know. You and I have to declare our income on our income tax. Those people, you can't see their tax returns. They don't declare anything. But when I was a public employee, you could have went down to City Hall and looked at every single penny I made.
That's right. And as a matter of fact, at one time, the Herald News used to publish it all.
That's right. As a matter of fact, you can go down to the government center, request a copy of the fire and police contracts, a copy of the budget. And in those remember Coogan tried to get around that. He didn't put the names, wouldn't put anything, but used to be able to track everything. Not only the pay, it'll have the base pay in it, but then it'll have the clothing allowance, the proficiency pay, the longevity pays, all the other benefits that you get. Every public employee's contract is public record. You can go down there and you can see every single dime. If you want to sit down and compute it, you can see exactly how much they make gross. But you can't do that with the politicians in Boston. You can't do that. They hide everything. And they get to give themselves their own pay raises. You think I'd like that? Oh, I'd love that. Give me that. Give me that option. But this is the problem. These people that's why they fear it. And like I said, as much as I'd like to see an independent auditor come in with a colonoscopy,
there's nothing that says the state auditor can't hire an outside agency in this law to have them come in. And if this state auditor did that, I'd have much more respect for her. I would have much more respect for her.
Oh, you're right. But look, any audit is better than no audit. And I just said, I'm voting for it. I would
recommend that our viewers vote for it.
I would like it to have a little bit more teeth. I would like to see it stipulated that audit had to be confirmed by an outside source or something like that. But hey, it's a foot in the door. And I'm going to tell you, they're going to fight this thing tooth and nail. They already are fighting it. I mean, that is kind of a tip-off. When they don't want to give you the facts, they don't want to talk about it, you know that they're covering up stuff.
That's right. And that's why I said,
they don't want to talk about lawsuits, how much we owe. They don't want to talk about anything that will cast a light and put under a microscope how grossly inept they are at doing anything, running anything. I mean, you want something effed up, let the government, give it to the government to do. You cannot screw up anything more than the government screws it up. You know?
That's true. That's true. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. Remember to vote yes on question 1. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great nice day, because the rest of them are going to get cold. Have a great day.
Winter's coming.